we're going to talk about just how easy it is to deploy HDFLEX cassettes into an HDFLEX patch panel environment. And furthermore, we're actually going to talk about this in light of using keyed type cassettes for more secure environments. So with that in mind, let's take a look at how you connect trunks to the back of these cassettes. Okay, so now we're going to talk about how you actually terminate a trunk cable to the rear of HDFLEX cassettes. Now this is using an HDFLEX type trunk that actually fits into this clip that we have on the side of the patch panel. So this actually helps manage the trunk cable itself. It gets slid into this plastic holder, and we have 24 fibers going in, two 12-strand fibers coming out. Each one of those 12-strand fibers is going to be terminated to the rear of an HDFLEX cassette. These MPO connectors are actually keyed in the sense that this little aqua key on the top always faces the top as opposed to the bottom. This one here is smooth. You need to have the key up because it fits in correspondence to the adapter here. You can see it has an opening on the top that's notched. You're going to put that in. It snaps in. If you try to do it the other way, it's not going to fit. See? No work. Okay? So turn it over with the key on top. Works every time. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the front of the patch panel and look at how you terminate duplex LC connectors into the 6-port HDFLEX cassette. Because again, a very simple process. You just have your color keyed, in this case green, that's the key we're using to start with, patch cords that correspond to the same color as the front of the HDFLEX cassette. You're going to put your patch cord into the coupler that snaps in place. And you continue that process across the entire face of the cassette until all the cassettes are loaded, or all the ports in the cassette are loaded with duplex LC connectors like that. Okay. Now you can see what the cassette looks like with all 6 ports loaded with LC keyed connectors. So you have 6 green LC duplex plugged into each of the 6 ports in the back of the cassette. Now if you pan back here, you can see how is all this managed. All these cords come through this cable management waterfall and are nicely dressed through the opening into the front of the cassette. Just so you can see this, so you know how it gets protected. There's a front that goes on the actual patch panel management device that actually protects the front of the patch cords when they're in place. And if you need to get to them, you just simply press it down and it falls down, and you have an area to label anything you'd like as far as numbering your ports and such. In the next section, we're going to take a look at what do you do when there's a status change. In other words, what happens at day 1, everything in green worked very well for the application here. What happens if there is a status change into the circuits that this patch panel manages, and all of a sudden the security level of those cassettes changes? Well, Penwood offers a variety of different keyed cassettes in different colors that can designate different purposes. So let's take a look at removing the green cassettes, what that process is, and then we'll insert a different color cassette in the next section. So we start simply by depressing the tab and pulling the patch cords out. Very simple process. Easier than putting them in, actually. Okay, all 6 are removed. I would suggest, I haven't done it here, but I would suggest maintaining all the dust caps that come with your patch cords and reinstalling them when you're going to do these moves so as not to get any kind of contamination on the end of the fiber strands. So do as I say, not as I do. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at how to actually remove the trunks from the rear of the cassettes. It's actually pretty easy. All you have to do is pull back on the body of the connector, it slides up, and it disconnects from the coupler that's in the back of the cassette. Now, we say, so how do we get the cassettes in and out? What's nice about the HDFLEX system, you really can install these from the front or the rear of the patch panel. So from the rear, all you need to do is pinch these 2 tabs together, and the cassette slides right out. If you insert it, you do the same thing. How about if you're in the front, however? If you're in the front of the cassette, front of the patch panel, all you do is pull this one tab to the side and pull the entire thing forward. So this allows you to install or remove cassettes from either direction with the HDFLEX system. That's simple. Now we're going to go on and we're going to show you how to do this with a different colored cassette as we swap out to a different key. Okay, now we're going to take a look at what do we do when we're swapping out our green keyed cassette for, say, a yellow one. Now, before I go on, I want to show a couple of things. First of all, there are keys for all these connectors. So you can see on these LC duplex, which is here, there's a little key that's up. So you got to make sure when you install the patch cord that the little key on the patch cord is facing up in order to snap into each of these openings, okay, the couplers. Now the same goes for the rear, but this is the MPO connector, MTP connector, same connector, different name. If you look, there's a little key to the top, and you can see that that's the orientation that the connector needs to be in order to fit it properly into the adapter or the coupler, okay? So what we're going to do now is, with that in mind, we're going to insert the cassettes. I'm going to show you one cassette that I'm inserting from the front, and I'll show you a second cassette that I'm going to insert from the rear. So in the front of the panel, we're just going to install it like this, pull this tab over, and it'll slide right in, okay? Now, if you're going to do the same thing, let's take it from the rear this time. I find this even easier. You just slide it in, and it snaps right in place. So this shows you can install these cassettes for HDFLEX either for the front or the rear, depending on whatever's easier for you when you install it. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at inserting the trunks into the rear of the cassettes. Like I said before, you can see that there's keys. Those keys are facing up on each of these connectors. There's a little bump, if you will, on the top of each of these connectors. That's the orientation in the back of the cassettes here. All you have to do is insert it until you hear the snap. And there you go. Trunks are installed. Now we're going to go to the patch cords now. They're yellow, and as you can see, like before, there is a key on the top that needs to be up in order to fit into each of the adapters or couplers that are inside the cassettes. So just like before, you just take them, feed them through the fiber manager, insert it into the opening of the adapter. Hard to do from the side. There we go. Okay. Okay, now you can see what it looks like when it's fully loaded. All 6 ports of the yellow keyed cassettes are now loaded with yellow patch cords. So we've had a really easy process of swapping out green for yellow. Same goes for red or any other color you might choose. The process is exactly the same, just the identification of what the circuit color means from a security standpoint changes. So with that in mind, we're good to go. All we need to do now, like I said, if you want to do any kind of labeling, the flip down cover has space to do that. Otherwise, you just snap it shut and you're good to go. Hope that works for you guys. Thanks so much. Take care.